to accept the petition, and today's hearing was scheduled. All required notifications of today's hearing were made. A final decision regarding the proposed parole will be made at the conclusion of today's hearing. There are several people here today who will be presenting to the board and who will appear in the following order. Representing Mr. Priest will be Andrew Hartman, Assistant State Public Defender, and Jamie. Representing the victim will be Whitney Krim, Assistant State Prosecuting Attorney for Montgomery County, and 3 members of Lucinda Smithson's family. In terms of ground rules for the hearing, each side will be permitted a total of 40 minutes for their presentations. Time will stop at the end of each attorney's presentation to allow the board members to ask questions. When additional speakers begin their presentations, time will begin to run again. After the additional speakers have made their presentations, the board members will have the opportunity to ask questions or make comments. After both sides have concluded, Mr. Hartman will be given the opportunity to make an additional brief statement. Only one person at a time will be permitted to speak. I do ask that those presenting to the board make their presentation directly to the board and not to the opposing side. Any person whose behavior or decorum causes a disruption in the hearing will be removed. After hearing all of the presentations, the board will move into executive session for the purposes of deliberation and then return with our final decision. At this time, Mr. Hartman, if you would like to go ahead and turn your mic on, you may begin your presentation.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Hoying, members of the board. My name is Andrew Hartman with the State Public Defender, and I'm here this morning to talk about why Derek Priest is suitable for release onto parole supervision at this time. At the board's most recent hearing for Mr. Priest, the board did determine that he is suitable for release onto parole and cited a number of factors in support of that decision. Those factors included the fact that Mr. Priest has completed programming relevant to his specific risk level. He has greatly improved his conduct over his years of incarceration with no tickets since 2018. And he has an extremely positive support system to assist him with his reentry. The board was correct to find Mr. Priest suitable for release. He has a stable and realistic release plan with the support of family and community members, some of whom are here today to support Mr. Priest. He has matured significantly during his 32 years in prison and has the skills and motivation necessary to make positive choices when he was released in a way that he did not when he was last in the community. He should be granted parole. In April of 1993, Mr. Priest and his co-defendant, Mr. McCain, shot and killed Ms. Smithson. Mr. Priest was charged with aggravated murder, aggravated robbery, burglary, weapon or disability, and 2 counts of kidnapping. He accepted a plea deal offered by the state and took responsibility for his actions, pleading guilty to the lesser offense of murder with a firearm specification, as well as 1 count of kidnapping. The remaining charges were dismissed as part of that plea deal. Mr. Priest was sentenced to 18 to life for the murder and firearm specification and received a sentence of 4 to 15 years for the kidnapping charge, and the judge in the case ordered those 2 sentences run concurrent with each other for an aggregate sentence of 18 to life. Mr. Priest has now served 32 years of incarceration and more than 18 years beyond his first statutory eligibility date for parole, and he is suitable for release. If granted release, Mr. Priest plans to live at a halfway house, preferably in the Dayton area, though he is open to placement at any halfway house that would be suitable and would accept him. He's specifically looked into the VOA halfway house in Dayton, as well as the Turtle Creek halfway house in Lebanon. He reached out to both of those, heard back from Turtle Creek. They indicated to him that, of course, they consider everyone on a case-by-case basis and couldn't make a decision until they received a referral. But based on my experience, I believe either of those halfway houses would be very likely to accept Mr. Priest, and those would be supportive options for him to start his reentry. He recognizes he's been incarcerated for 32 years, so he will face a period of adjustment when he returns to the community, and he thinks a halfway house would be a good opportunity for him to ease into that return to the community. If placement in Dayton is not viable, as I said, he's open to placement at a halfway house anywhere in Ohio, and specifically mentioned Alvis and Columbus as a backup option for placement. Once he completes the halfway house, Mr. Priest intends to live with his mother, Lois, who is here today, in support of her son. And he'll have the close support of his brother Jamie, who will be speaking after me, who lives nearby to Lois's house, also in the Dayton area. And he has a backup placement following completion of the halfway house if placement with Lois doesn't work out. For employment, Mr. Priest has a number of options, including several guaranteed job opportunities upon his release. He mentioned his preferred option being a barbershop that his cousin Damian Priest owns in Dayton, called, I believe it's called Napoleon's Barbershop, nearby to the APA office in Dayton. Mr. Priest has a barber's license and substantial experience cutting hair both in prison and prior to his incarceration. He believes he'll need to retake the barber's test in order to renew that license, but should be able to do that within the first 30 days after his release. He's also completed a janitorial apprenticeship recently and has a potential job opportunity through a cleaning company as well with a relative. And he has an uncle as well, a Elvis Priest, that owns a trucking business where he potentially could work once he gets his license and CDL. So he has a number of options with family for employment, and they're guaranteed options, so there really should be no difficulty in Mr. Priest finding a job and being able to support himself. If the options with his family don't work out, he does have additional vocational training in both web design and food service, and he's established a network of support resources through both recovery services and the Office of Reentry, both DRC's Office of Reentry and the Montgomery County Office of Reentry. He's had contact with individuals at both of those places. So he has a network of people to turn to provide him with resources, not just for employment, but for substance abuse, counseling, and ongoing support in the community. Mr. Priest has completed a number of programs while he's been incarcerated to prepare himself for return to the community. Before he came to prison, Mr. Priest led a life characterized by dysfunction, impulsiveness, and extremely destructive decisions. He grew up surrounded by alcohol and drug use. His father wasn't present in his life, having left the family when Mr. Priest was young, and he never had a close relationship with his father. He had a lot of unstructured and unsupervised free time when he was a child, and when he was, tween, before his teenage years, he spent time hanging out with negative associates and sometimes engaging in criminal activity. When his older brother moved into the family home when Mr. Priest was around 14 years old, his brother introduced Mr. Priest to additional criminal activity, including dealing drugs. Mr. Priest had a substantial rebellious streak during his teenage years, which I believe was exacerbated by the resentment he felt over his father's abandonment. And that led him to drop out of school in the 10th grade and engage in criminal activity during a substantial portion of his free time at that point. Later, after being released from DYS, Mr. Priest initially worked a steady job as a barber before eventually reconnecting with negative associates from his old friends and returning to criminal behavior. Mr. Priest arrived at CRC after being convicted of his current offense with lots of work to do to improve himself and to prepare himself for its return to the community. And during his time in the prison, during the past 32 years, he's done that work. He's taken programs to address the factors that led him to make negative decisions. He's engaged in programming to address decision-making, substance abuse, and to grapple with his childhood trauma from feelings of abandonment. He completed the Renaissance program in recent years, which reinforced his commitment to abstaining from marijuana and drug use, and it helped him gain the cognitive behavioral skills he needs to make positive choices moving forward. He talked to me about using rational self-analysis, or RSA, techniques to change his thinking and change his behavior. He's also developed a safety net of people that he can contact to avoid relapse. He has a written relapse prevention plan with concrete triggers and concrete action steps in the event that red flags arise to make sure that he doesn't return to substance abuse or to negative decision making. And that'll help him cope with high-risk situations. Of course, he recognizes that return to the community will be stressful. He's faced difficult situations in the institution as well and has applied the skills he's gained through programming to make positive choices in those situations, and he'll continue to do that in the community as well. He plans to attend AA and NA meetings when released and identify a sponsor to extend his safety net. Mr. Priest has also completed additional decision-making programs, including Thinking for a Change, Tapuku, Decision Points, and a life skills class with Bobby Mims, a local reentry person from the Dayton-Springfield area. Mr. Mims will also be another person supporting Mr. Priest in his release when he is granted parole. With the extensive programming that Mr. Priest has completed, he's developed skills to cope with stress and frustration without resorting to the destructive decisions that defined his youth. The efficacy of that programming is evident, I believe, from Mr. Priest's behavior in the institution. His institutional conduct has greatly improved in recent years, and he's not received a single ticket since 2018. And he cites his experience with the victim offender dialogue as the moment of spiritual awakening that led him to be fully focused and fully committed to making positive choices to try to make amends for the harm that he's caused to so many people through his choices. The lengthy dialogue that he engaged, or the lengthy dialogue process, the victim offender dialogue process, culminated in Mr. Priest meeting with the victim of his juvenile offense and seeing face to face the lasting impact of his choices on her family, and on the community as well. Mr. Priest's sincere motivation to change his life for the better is motivated by the remorse that he feels for the crimes that he has committed, the harm that he caused to Ms. Smithson and to the victim of his juvenile offense, as well as to the family, friends, and communities of both those situations. He deeply regrets his destructive choices, and he acknowledges that Ms. Smithson did nothing to deserve what he and the co-defendants did to her. And I think the sincerity of his remorse, it's not just, you don't have to take my word for it, that's also reflected in the staff input that the board received from staff at London Correctional. People who see Mr. Priest every day and work with him, individual that worked with him during that victim offender dialogue process, indicated that she observed the remorse that he felt for his crimes as well, and reflected that that remorse appeared to her to be genuine, was my reading of her staff input. And other staff as well have highlighted the positive growth and positive impact that Mr. Priest has had in the community. He knows he can't fix the damage he caused, but he hopes to make amends in whatever way that he can by continuing to live a positive life moving forward. In conclusion, Mr. Priest has completed programming to address his specific risk factors. He's developed a strong and supportive release plan with an extensive network and extensive safety net. He is sincerely remorseful for his crimes and has demonstrated growth and change through his actions in the institution, and he is suitable for release onto parole. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hartman. Before I see if the other board members have any questions, I tried to go back to your submission, but I didn't see it in there, so I wanted to make sure that I heard you correctly. When you were talking about kind of his childhood and growing up, and you said he got into dealing drugs, did you say that was with his brother?
Yes, his older brother.
Okay. And then he was engaged at the time of this offense, working at a barber shop. I guess my concern is what factors have changed? We're going back to the same place. We're looking at the same employment with the same family. What is going to be different?
Yeah, so in terms of the barber shop, he had been working and been productive upon his release from DYS, and then some of those old associates that he had been involved with prior to his commitment to DYS came to him and suggested that he return to the drug dealing lifestyle that he was engaged in. He quit his job at the barber shop and returned to dealing drugs. Those negative associates, from my understanding and talking to Mr. Priest and his family, are largely either no longer in the Dayton area or no longer living. And in addition to that, Mr. Priest has no desire to associate with those sort of negative people. So while he will still be in the Dayton area, he's not going to be associating with those same people, and he did highlight that as perhaps his largest risk factor, his largest red flag in his relapse prevention plan. It's associating with negative people, the sort of negative people he associated with before. So I think he has a much greater insight into the importance of who he surrounds himself with, He has a network of positive people to surround himself with in a way that he didn't when he was released, when he was 20 years old. And his family also has, I think, greater insight into those risks and will be able to guide him.
Okay. And, obviously, working at the barber shop, he may still come into contact with people who are not about the right thing. He may come into contact with them at the grocery store or just walking around in the community. I know you mentioned the insight is the biggest difference that he has now. Does he have any plan in terms of, other pro-social associations to engage with in the community?
Yeah, I believe he does intend to connect with the recovery community. He has worked as a peer supporter during his time in the institution and has gained training as a peer supporter and has talked with reentry folks about continuing that work. So he'll be, hopefully, if he's able to pursue that option, associated with other people who are looking to make positive impacts on the community. And he also, I believe, I don't have my notes in front of me on this, but I believe he does have some religious involvement and would plan to get involved with a religious community as well. So we'd have positive associates that way.
Excuse me, sir. I'm going to need you to stay muted until it's your time to speak, or you will be removed from the hearing. Thank you, Mr. Hartman. Mr. Herron, do you have any comments or questions?
I do not. You addressed all my concerns. Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Eppinger?
I have none, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Kovach?
I have none, thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Presley?
I have none, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Widmer?
No questions, but thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Brumfield?
I have none, thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Holmes?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you.
And Ms. Walker?
I have none, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. At this time, we'll hear from Jamie.
Yeah.
You can
Good
go ahead,
morning,
sir.
everybody. My name is Jamie Priest, and I'm the younger brother of Derek Priest. I was a bit young when the crime occurred. Not to try to, downplay me being naive or anything like that, but what I will say is over the years, me and my brother have had a lot of conversations. With just me and my mom coming to visit, or such as phone conversations. I was probably maybe 13, 14 then. I'm 47 now. So, a lot of our conversations are positive. I think I have inspired him with a lot of my accomplishments. I'm a high school graduate. I'm a college graduate. I've been married for 17 years. I have 2 kids. I coach youth sports. I have a son graduating this year. He's going to college to run track, play football. I have an 11-year-old daughter who runs track also. So I'm sorry I'm getting emotional. But those things have inspired him because I didn't get caught up into our environment and the things that was around us. So I think my accomplishments have inspired him a lot because, he talked a lot about regret, a lot about remorse. He talks a lot about family. Some close members, have passed on that he won't get to see anymore. He do understand that a lot of his impact was, because of other people that he, chose the crowd he was in, around, whatever. But I know I have inspired him a lot, and he gravitates to me. We talk like maybe 2, maybe 3 times a month. So I do see growth in him. Our conversations we have long conversations. We talk maybe, hours at a time. So in my adult years, like I said, I do see that in him. I didn't know a lot when I was young, but, you know, the fact that he proud that I did make it out, you know, I didn't get caught up in any of that. And, you know, he tell me all the time that he proud of me because he wasn't able to do what he wasn't strong enough to do what I did. So, you know, that's all I got to say.
All right. Thank you, sir. I'll see if the board members have any comments or questions for you, and I'll begin with Mr. Heron.
Yeah, good morning. Appreciate your story and appreciate your willingness to help your brother. What sport do you coach?
I coach football and basketball.
Okay. Okay, very good. All right, well, thank you for your willingness. I don't have any questions other than the sport question. Thank you.
And I just say this, my son #1 in the state right now, track.
Mr. Eppinger?
I have no question. Thank you for being here to support your brother.
Ms. Kovach?
So after a halfway house, Mr. Hartman indicated that your mother is the release plan. Is that correct? And how close are you? You don't have to tell me street, but 5 minutes, an hour?
Me and my
what?
mom, we're about 8 minutes apart.
So you're pretty darn close.
Right.
Okay, good.
Right. I have space as well. It's just that I'm extremely busy. I work, you know, 8 to 10 hours a day. Right after that, I'm doing stuff with my kids. They playing into a lot of sports. Sometimes I'm working on the weekends, so I just do a lot. Sometimes I may be out of town coaching the AAU game, or you know, doing camps with my son, or you know, doing training with my daughter. So I'm just extremely busy. But you know, whatever my mom can't do, you know, she'll probably do a lot of bulk of it. I'm able to still help in many ways.
So you are about, I'm guessing, about 6 years apart. You're younger, 6 years younger.
Yeah, I think we five to
Okay.
6 years.
Okay, so big. I mean, quite a difference. So, I mean, you have a lot to be proud of in terms of what you've, you know, done with your life. How did you? I forget how you put it, but how did you not get caught up in that environment? I think is how you put it.
Well, I paid attention. I mean, I was real observant, and I always was a busy kid anyway. But I paid attention to the things that was around me, and it just the decision I didn't choose to be part of. I mean, I seen people getting not seen, but maybe a couple of times I seen people getting, you know, beat. I seen people getting shot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I seen people go to jail and not come home till, you know, 15, 20 years. So it was just something I didn't want to put myself through. I have 2 older brothers, which is Eric Priest and Derek Priest. I'm the baby. So, you know, I wanted to make my mom proud because, you know, neither one of them was able to achieve it. So with me wanting to make her have something to smile about and be proud about, I just kept going.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's blessed to have you, and it'll be surrounded by that positivity if he is released here. And I don't have anything else. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Presley?
Well, I appreciate you being here to be supportive to your brother. One question, say for an example, your brother go off on your mom. How would you handle that?
That's the thing. You know, despite how he was as a youth, never disrespectful. But, you know, like I will say is that I'm at the age now where, you know, me and him have a good rapport. I know he'll listen to me. I mean, like I said, I'm not 14 no more now. You know, I haven't seen my brother in 32 years, so he hear about the man I am, but you know, it's me getting to know him all over again. if given the opportunity. But I'm 100% sure that I know the rapport that me and him have developed over the years. I think what I say is gold is the golden ticket to him. Like I said, I think me and my mom is the only people he communicate with, and we talk a lot. Me and him talk a whole lot. So I don't think I would have an issue with him, taking what I say or understanding what I say to make sense.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I have nothing further.
Mr. Widmer?
No questions, but thank you for being here today. And I just want to, I'm sure that your continued involvement with your brother and your connection has done him well. And we know that when people have support on the outside, they do better while they're incarcerated. So thank you for always being there for him.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Brumfield?
I don't have any questions, but thank you, sir.
Mr. Holmes?
No questions. Thank you.
And Ms. Walker? All right. Thank you, sir. At this time,
Yes, thank you. I want to take a second to thank the board for hearing from myself and from the family of Lucinda Smithson. The violent shooting death of Lucinda Smithson on April 8th of 1993 was the culmination of days of violence in and around the home of 2912 North Main Street in Dayton, Ohio. In those days of violence, Lucinda had been beaten and robbed outside of the home before ultimately being dragged from a room she was hiding, shot, and beaten to death inside the home of 2912 North Main Street. Witnesses and an investigation with the Dayton Police Department ultimately identified this offender, Derek Priest, and Reginald McCain as perpetrators of Lucinda's death. And the evidence showed that Reginald McCain's brother, Dexter, was suspected in the to be involved in the initial robbery and beating of Lucinda. On the day that Lucinda was shot and killed, Dexter was confronted at that home on North Main Street for his involvement in the prior beating. Dexter was beaten by other individuals inside that home, and Dexter relayed that information to his 10-year-old brother, who informed Reginald McCain, along with Derek Priest, who then went to the home at 2912 North Main Street, armed with guns, and hunted Lucinda down. The evidence showed that Reginald McCain and Priest were together on the afternoon of April 8th, 1993, and multiple witnesses would later pick Priest out of a photo lineup as one of the individuals seen chasing Lucinda into her home before attacking her and killing her inside that home. Witnesses inside the home described a particularly violent scene. One witness, Terry Newhouse, indicated that the males followed Lucinda and another female to the home where Lucinda tried to hide. Mr. Newhouse told police that the males searched the home for Lucinda, held the witness and another female at gunpoint inside the home, before ultimately finding Lucinda in her hiding spot, dragging her from the room, beating and shooting her to death. The males would then rob Lucinda and flee from the home. One of the males shot Lucinda, causing her to fall to the floor before shooting her again. Mr. Newhouse, that witness, said the other male repeatedly tried to fire his weapon at Lucinda, but the gun malfunctioned. Mr. Newhouse stated that the males proceeded to beat Lucinda with their pistols and kick her before taking money out of her back pocket and fleeing the scene. Reginald McCain and Derek Priest were arrested days later. Priest was interviewed by the Dayton Police Department and admitted to being with McCain on the day of the shooting, but denied ever going to the home on Main Street. Despite this, several witnesses would later identify him as being with McCain via a photo spread, and Priest would ultimately enter a guilty plea to 1 count of murder with a firearm specification and 1 count of kidnapping for holding the female occupant of the house at gunpoint. Derek Priest is now before the parole board advocating for his release. At this time, the state opposes the release of this offender. The state has significant concerns about the offender's violent past, his release plan, and concern that he may remain a threat to the community. Before Priest turned 21 years old, he had been involved in the violent deaths of 2 separate members of this community. As a juvenile, Priest was adjudicated delinquent by reason of having committed an offense that, if committed by an adult, would have constituted the offense of murder. Priest was placed in the Department of Youth Services and had been released from custody for only a short period of time before being involved in this incident. During his incarceration, Priest was seemingly involved in little programming for the majority And while the state is not privy to the offender's entire record of participation in programming, the state would assert that his programming is not consistent with an individual vigorously pursuing rehabilitation. The state is particularly concerned about a statement made to DRC staff in 2013 when confronted about his attitude. He told the staff member that he had been down too long, that's who he is, and he won't change. The state has additional concerns regarding his release plan. The priest indicates that he intends to reside with the same individuals and do the same things that he was doing at the time that he committed these offenses. There is little indication that his situation in those environments has changed, and placing him right back in the environment that he was in when he committed these offenses is only likely to lead to further violence. The state would also note the family's concerns regarding potential retaliation upon the release of this offender and his presence in their community. Given the facts of this case, those fears are certainly not unfounded. The state would ask that if the parole board is inclined to release Priest, that any and all safeguards that can be implemented to protect the family be put in place. At this time, the state's concern is with the significantly violent history of Priest. He's an individual that has faced little time outside of incarceration, and in that time he has not been incarcerated. He has been involved in the violent deaths of 2 separate individuals in 2 separate incidences. There has not been enough shown by Priest to show that he has fully rehabilitated to the point where he is no longer a danger to the community, and the release plan that he has put into place indicates that he is simply going to return to the same environment he was in at the time that he committed those offenses as a youth. And for those reasons, the state is opposed to his release and would defer further to the family for additional statements.
All right, thank you, Ms. Krim. I'll see if the board members have any comments or questions for you, and I'll begin with Mr. Herron.
I don't have any questions. Thank you for your presentation.
Mr. Eppinger,
I have none, thank you.
Ms. Kovach,
I have none, thank you.
Mr. Presley,
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Widmer,
No questions, but I do appreciate what you shared today.
Mr. Brumfield,
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Holmes,
Yeah, I have no questions, thank you.
and Ms. Walker.
I have none, thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Krim. You can go ahead and go back on mute. And Mr. Hart, any closing remarks?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to make 2 brief points in closing. First, with respect to Mr. Priest's programming, I think the board has all of his certificates and access to his programming through the computer system. And I'm not sure what additional programming the prosecutor would have Mr. Priest complete. He's completed Thinking for a Change and other cognitive behavioral programs. He's completed victim awareness. He's completed substance abuse programming. He's completed Cage Your Rage. He's completed numerous vocational trainings. He did earn his GED. I don't think additional incarceration is going to allow him some time to complete any additional programs because he's completed every program that he could complete. And those programs have concretely addressed the risk factors that led him to prison 32 years ago, and they put him in a completely different position at this point to make positive decisions, and his behavior in the institution has demonstrated that. It's not as if there are no negative individuals in the prison to associate with. Prison's full of negative individuals who are making poor choices, and Mr. Priest has separated himself from those individuals. He's utilized the skills he's gained in programming to focus himself on positive things, and he's going to continue that if granted the opportunity for parole. Finally, I would note that Mr. Priest was offered a plea deal by the state of Ohio that took into account both his prior record and the seriousness of his offense. That plea deal dismissed numerous charges that could have been run consecutive with the charges he pled guilty to. The judge as well had all of the factors in front of him in terms of the facts of his case and ran the sentences concurrent for his offense. So I think with respect to the seriousness of his original offense, the time that he served reflects that. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, the board will move into executive session for the purposes of deliberation, and we'll return shortly with our decision.
Thank you. This concludes the presentation portion of Derek
Thank you, everyone, for your patience. The board has considered all of the presentations and other available information, and we have reached a majority decision by a vote of 8-1, which is to parole Derek Priest on or after July 14th, 2025, halfway house preferred, with the special conditions of 5 years of supervision, very high supervision level, placement to be approved by the board upon completion of investigation by the Adult Parole Authority, actual release subject to approved placement plan, no change of residence without prior approval of the board, substance abuse screening and programming if indicated, and comply with all Adult Parole Authority case planning. The board finds that Derek Priest has served a significant amount of time for his convictions, has taken programming to abate his risk to reoffend, has had acceptable institutional conduct for several years, and has a supportive release plan, thereby rendering him suitable for release at this time. We want to thank everyone for the testimony presented in today's hearing. The hearing is now adjourned.